Welcome back to Equal Time Soccer. I'm Mark Pravratsky. We're deep in the midst of the Summer League now. Today we're focusing on Rochester FC and the USLW League. We have a couple of players here to give us some perspective on how the season's going for the Loons and also to learn a little bit about what they have going on, some new joinees to Rochester. So welcome Emma, Knack, and Aida Kartovic of Rochester FC. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with Aida. I want to start with you. You were a standout at Creighton. You played a lot of games. You're an impact player for sure. Last playing fall of 2022. And I'm curious, what made you connect with Rochester FC? How did you get back to playing here in the Midwest?
Honestly, they asked me when I was still at Creighton during my last season after I graduated. And I was sort of in a transition phase because I was graduating, didn't know what I really wanted to do at that time. Mm-hmm. And I got an email, and I didn't know where they get my email from or who they reached out to, but I read that email and I was like, oh, I don't really know. I sort of just want to go home and see if I want to go do grad school and maybe even play soccer still. So I declined and I said, maybe another time. And honestly, it felt just right this time. And I reached out to them actually, and I was like, hey, are you guys still looking for a player? And that's just sort of how we connected, and everything fell in place for me to be here.
Well, because I wanted to ask, were your plans also, yes, Aida is very much not offline. She's more centered than us. She doesn't need social media in her life. So she's figured that out. So props to you, Aida. I try to use it just for promoting this stuff, but I do get caught on the gram. So credit. Aida's pretty private. So I couldn't find a lot about what also you'd been up to in the interim. So I was asking, were you back in Germany, and were you thinking about still playing at some level?
So as I graduated and I got back to Germany, I immediately applied to grad school and I got accepted close to my hometown. And I was sort of done with soccer. I don't know why, just something felt off about it. And I was like, if I'm not playing at the highest level, I don't want to do anything else. Honestly, that's just how you want to compete as a player. You want to play with the best. And if I didn't get that in close proximity, I was like, might as well just focus on work or starting your new life, And so I had stopped playing soccer for at least 6 months, but the pull was still there. I was fit, I still had it in me, and I started picking up again, and that's when things got rolling again. And I was like, yeah, I'll give this another shot.
And were you already planning to come back to Minnesota, or was this kind of an impetus for you to do it this summer?
No, I started playing again in January, right as the winter season started for us in Germany. And I started playing at a club close to my home. They're really good as well. And I was just like, yo, can I join? And they're like, we would gladly have you. So that's just sort of how it happened. So I was playing before I got here. And yeah, it was really fun. Really good.
Very cool. I mean, sometimes you need the break. It dominates your life a lot for a while there, from, teenage years to early 20s. And we'll talk about it later, because you were involved in the game, certainly at the club level and in the Bundesliga, to tease it for people.
Yeah.
Emma, to talk about you, when off air, I was asking, what your situation is if you're up in Asante, because that's where Emma is from originally. But so not close to Rochester, not like it's miles and miles away across the metro. But how did you end up connected with the Loons and get to be on Rochester FC this summer?
Well, I was actually here last summer, and
oh yes, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
How did you originally get connected? How did you originally get connected to the club?
Oh, my friend Anna, who's on the team last year and this year too. She just she recommended me to Rochester, and then I just got a text from them asking if I wanted to play. I was like, oh, sure.
Well, see, I'll ask some players, and in college, it's a little different. I guess they don't want to overstep, but still, I would think coaches, if they wouldn't mind a player saying, I know of someone who's good. And some players are like, no, I don't even think about doing that. But it sounds like your friend, made the right move. So they got you in. Shout out. We love getting those players their tea, getting out in the public. Way to recruit, Emma. Talk about this season personally, because you were here last year, but this year you're just starting right off the bat, right? You had your first college season, and then right off the bat, I mean, you started all the games, right? And so I wonder, how is it with this group? It's a brand new thing. It's only a few weeks in terms of, you do have a lot of new players. You have core from last year that is returning, right? But how comfortable did you feel when you were stepping out, starting in those first games with a brand new squad, with new defenders? Talk about that perspective.
Yeah, so definitely stepping into at least just our first 2 games, it was a little tense, just a little bit, just because
Yeah.
new, like obviously new players and new formations, new positions, and just trying to see how like other people play at their original colleges or their original teams, and just trying to find like a happy medium between all of that. And but I mean, there was a couple of players that came back, obviously, that helped a lot. And then before the season, I actually helped recruit at least 2 players, Maddie and Ella, and so I played club with them. So it was a little nice to have some familiar faces on the field to just kind of like help me and like ease into the season.
Yeah, I think you notice that I follow all the different, summer leagues, and all the different teams are different with different priorities and kind of different ways they recruit, but all of them have to have some patchwork of like some different sources of players. And you notice when at least pockets of chemistry can make a difference, that you have like maybe a winger and an outside back who have some chemistry already, or a defender and a midfield. It can help a lot, and even just off the field, right? Because you feel like you have some buds and you don't have to be fully starting from scratch. I wonder, yeah, new group for you, Ada, as well. Like you said, it's something that you saw last year, obviously, and were attracted to join this year. I mean, so you had a bit of time off, but you're used to joining different teams. How does trying to get the chemistry and talent right, with a quick turnaround of a team like this compared to other environments that you've been in?
I mean, I feel like I'm at that age, I'm 24, where I've seen enough. I've been to many different places where the chemistry or the get-go is always the same. You get used to someone, you see how they practice, and you make up your own mind about it, and then you just try and implement how you can make someone look better, or how you can improve someone and how can they improve you. So
Mhm.
it's all about those little details, and the more you practice with someone, the more you get to know them, and the more you get to know them off the field, the better you get to know them on the field too.
Mhm.
So it's just like, you know, this is like old hat for me. I don't want to make it sound weird, but
Mhm.
the 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 process is always the same. It just takes time, essentially, and this
Mhm.
is what we've been doing. Spending time off and on the field, and I think you see it every single game that we are getting better and building that team chemistry, knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses, and trying to combat.
Mhm.
So it's
You mentioned being 24, and it is funny because if you're used to being in college, it's like, and in summer league, you're still playing with teenagers. It's like anyone who's above 22 is like old. And
yeah,
I'm 36, Ada, so don't worry. You're still young. Your parents are so closer to us as we learn, as we keep getting older, doing equal time. But I do want to ask, because it's a fun thing, even in college with the COVID year, we got a bit of this of like 6-year age gaps and stuff. But how big is the biggest age gap for you guys? Are you the oldest player? I don't know.
am I the oldest, Emma? I don't know.
I think you might be
Maybe
it.
some people are
I
riding
think.
under. Are people getting away? Are they passing? Are they young passing?
I mean, I get told I look like 22, so I take that. You know what I
Nice.
mean? Like,
Sure.
I'll take it.
Sure.
But I
Yeah.
think we have a 25-year-old. I think Haley Archuleta is 25.
Okay. So I
But
mean,
think
and then
so.
you do have people who are more close to 18 probably too. So I mean,
right,
like, does that come up more in the off the field time you spend together, or on the field?
probably. Yeah, probably.
The difference in the apps people are using, who's focusing on, yeah, which apps, yeah.
Yeah, probably offline. So I'm the wrong person to ask.
This
Exactly.
is well, this is the thing. Everyone, no, 24-year-olds don't even use apps, Ada. We don't even know. Yeah, that's why it's your age. I did say I got to watch the end of the RKC game, which was really fun. You guys were getting a lot of things going. The first goal, Ada, was really sweet. A setup from you. You kind of slid a ball through where Alasia Lane found the right run, came across the box, and then we have this on equal time, by the way, if you want to look at the highlights, and just banged a left-footed shot, kind of top corner. So that was a really nice connection and chemistry. Talk about your role, at where you're feeling your role in the offense, and like the role you're playing in the team, and as you create kind of your dynamic.
Well, I consider myself a very creative but also hardworking player, and I think I have a thing for setting people up and knowing where they are at all times. And
Uh-huh.
with Malaysia, I just like in that moment, I just thought where she was, it was just a quick look, and I knew like she'd be in a good position to either
Mhm.
take someone on, take a shot, and so that's what I've been trying to do on the field. Trying to create chances where we can isolate a player, get a 2v1, or get numbers up. So this is what I'm trying to do, and obviously I have a very like a specific style of how I play, but I can't change that. That's just how I grew up playing in Europe and like
Huh?
what I like. So I think that sometimes helps the team,
Mhm.
getting the best chances at scoring a goal. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Maybe it's that Serbian background, Ada, because yeah, that is the reputation of kind of those Eastern European former Yugoslav nations are they create these really creative kind of dynamic attacking players and hardworking. So yeah, that is we're gonna ask about that background a little later. Emma, you were making saves in that game too. You had a lot to do. I mean, you had to come up in big moments, I should say. So we'll talk about that win. I mean, 3-2 is never an easy place to sit, like as the keeper. But just talk about what went right for you in getting that, for you personally, but also the team. Like, what was it that made you get over that hump and get the second win? Because the team only won one game last year. That was really, I think, unfair to the effort and performance of the squad. So the second one is probably a long time coming, to be honest.
Yeah, I think definitely the first half it was a little bit like hard because we definitely felt inside that we were playing our best. Like we were all just like trying really hard, and it felt like we knew what we were doing. Like I had a better plan going into this game, and so second half we just talked about it, and like it was just like a feeling. Like I could feel it from all of my teammates that we were all on the same page. We all wanted to just win this like so badly, and like so I think just like having that same mentality on the field really helped us come up in the big moments together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. You could tell there's chemistry because it is tough early in the seasons like this to have good offensive movement together because you don't have the reps, like kind of Ada mentioned. So I was seeing some good combinations. It was fun to watch. Yeah, and a little stressful. Big moments for you, obviously. Talk about, you had to play at Chicago City as the second game. They've been the second best team both years previous to this, to Minnesota Aurora. Really consistent, a lot of talent. What's tough about playing them? Because I mean, 5-1, to be honest, they've been beating some teams 8 and 7 and things like that. So I mean, losing by 4 is not fun, but what makes it tough to play them? What are they great at?
I think what makes it tough to like play Chicago City is that I believe that they have a lot of returning players, as well as
Yeah.
they definitely like hold themselves like to like a high standard, like professionally almost, and they do have a lot of like very good players there. I bet there's some of them are local because I know I played some Chicago teams in club, and they like use really like well-rounded players, and yeah, just honestly like they've probably been practicing a little bit more together, and like, we're a new team, a new group of girls, so I think that was our only downfall, I guess, against them. But I think we could have, yeah.
How do you, when you're the keeper and you give up 5, obviously it almost never is the case that like they're your fault if you're giving up 5. That's a difference in the whole team. But so how do you balance that of like you take the constructive piece of the game and also not put too much weight on the fact that like if we gave up 5, there's a lot of reasons we gave up 5. It's certainly not on me.
Yeah, so definitely 5 is a hard score to slow down, but I mean, like, it's gonna happen when, there's high scoring games like this, and I mean, it happens to literally everyone, and it's just a matter of moving forward from it, but also taking that piece of, like, learning from all the goals that were scored, and maybe a team thing, maybe it's a me thing, like, just kind of taking what is good out of those situations and not dwelling so much on, like, oh my gosh, it was 5, like,
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah, it happens in the summer leagues, man. There was, last year, like when, and especially new leagues where the balance is still being sorted out and teams are getting their feet, like the UPSL women started last year. There was a couple times it got to 10, it's like, it's not really fun for either squad, but it helps teams know what they have to, the level they have to get to, and then those teams can make improvements. So, yeah, it's something, you take some lumps. You guys turned it into a win the next game, so that's good. Ada,
Yeah.
what are your first few games playing in this league show you about kind of the talent level? Obviously, you played at Creighton and on a winning Creighton squad with really good players, and some of whom definitely play professionally, or could have if there were more spots. What do you take for the talent level and the overall kind of quality in the league so far?
I mean, it's very American, that's the level is, it sort of does remind me of the early beginnings of Creighton's level when I got there.
Yeah.
And you see, I mean, some people are just, straight out of high school, freshman years of college, and you will obviously see a difference in athleticism or maybe, like the fitness, the game fitness. But on a technical level, there's obviously also some differences depending on, some colleges play a different type of game. I went to a college where we played possession and everyone had the chance to express their creativity and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you do see it on the field, when you play with someone who maybe went to a kick and run school,
Yeah.
So, and there's no fault in that, some conferences just play like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the fun thing to see is when someone can detect or acknowledges that soccer can be played a different way, and we both take, different things out of each other. Mm-hmm. So this is what's so fun in practice. You see people slowly rethinking or, rewiring their brain to being like, oh, I'm going to play a quick 1-2 with you, and then I'm going to take someone on instead of taking it long. So this is what I love about the sport so much. Mm-hmm. And this is what I've just been seeing. And even this short amount of time where we've been together for maybe 2.5 weeks,
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the fun things about these leagues. One is that players do get different exposure and get different experiences, and they can pick up things. And maybe it's just having a different coach for a while because that's such a long relationship with your college coach. But that's something I've noticed, in your fellow W League team. Aurora's had that. Other summer league teams, when I've paid attention, is if you have, maybe you only get one random technical player, and they could come from a really random school. There'd be NAI players and D2 players and D3 players who they're so good at playing that role, and they can unlock people who maybe are playing athletically. And so, yeah, it is interesting to see when you put someone like you, and also I know Ana Ricardo Pacheco is really creative and wants to do different things. And so I'm sure, the combinations will only grow this summer. What was your experience in the past, Ada, with Summer League? I was guessing maybe you went home to Germany instead. Did you ever play in summer leagues here in America or when you were in Germany?
I actually did. I think I was still recovering when I went to Creighton. I went in the spring of 2019, and I was still recovering from my ACL injury. That was 6 years ago almost. Yeah. And my first time playing in the U.S. was actually for the WPSL team, and we actually won our conference too, so it was really fun.
Shout them out. Who was it, Ada?
I forgot the name, honestly.
Well, see, that's tough to Google. But you played, and where was it? Was it in Omaha or what?
It was in Omaha, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do, I want to do a quick search, but yeah. So that was a lot. The other summers, though, you did tend to go back to Germany.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, if you hadn't seen your family for that long, I would imagine. I'm doing a quick Google. No, see, this is the thing. Ada's really under the radar. Gretna Elite Academy.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm so sorry. I'm very bad at this.
Well, that might be it. So shout out. I think that was the first thing I came up with that looked relevant. So shout out to them either way. Way to get into it. But yeah, so in terms of you, Ada, playing now, getting back into the game after having a bit of a break, obviously thinking about studies as well, playing this, how does it affect your personal goals in the game? Does it make you want to look for professional opportunities? How are you balancing those thoughts as you play out this season?
I mean, as an athlete, you obviously have this competitive edge, and you just want to, get the best out of everything, even if it's academic or, professionalism in the sports world. However, I've learned to not stress about it and let things come my way. You can't cheat destiny, and whatever happens, happens. And I'm just trying to stay healthy, do my best on the field, win every single game from now on, and whatever happens out of that, I'd gladly take it. And if not, then I'll just move on to different things. And that's just what I've learned in those many years of hoping. You can't force anything. You just got to let things happen sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's a better time to hope than in the past because there are a lot more roster spots opening up, as I'm sure both of you are aware, with the Super League starting this fall. We talk about it a lot, but it's going to be very relevant for Minnesotans because there's a lot more roster spots, and we will have some folks in that league. So it's going to be a fun thing to see some more domestic pro opportunities. Getting to go to Europe and have those adventures is amazing, but obviously some people want to eventually settle back down, or they don't want to go to Europe. So
yeah.
And also, some Europeans want to come play here. We need some spots for Germans and Serbians over here, Ada. So this is why we rant about the opportunities. But so just so people know, I'll say this before we go to an ad break because I want to get it in both parts of the show. The next game for the Loons is against the Dutch Lions in Chicago, June 1st, 7 p.m. They were third last year, but this year already, by the way, a lot of big losses. So it could be an opportunity for the Loons to go get some points there. And then a big one, the fun one for everyone in the Metro and in Rochester close by, Minnesota Aurora at the TCO Stadium on June 6th in Eagan. Pre and post game with me at the Blackheart. Unfortunately, the W League matches perfectly with my schedule, but it makes it fun for watch parties. So we will be having fans there, and I hope maybe even some Rochester fans come over. Let me take a quick second to read an ad from our sponsors. Pentz Home is a local realty group that supports the local women's soccer community. Nate Pentz is a community owner of Minnesota Aurora, and he supports our work at Equal Time, has for a while. So we can do shows like this with Rochester FC. I have lots of friends and family that live in Pentz Homes and couldn't be happy with them and their partner, Angie Shearer at Luminant Financing. Also want to shout out Modist Brewing. I serve a bunch of the Modist Dream Yard at the Blackheart Bar, at the Queer Soccer Bar. I get a ton of compliments on the gear. I have a Hawaiian shirt. I have a Protect Trans Kid shirt, and people just hype me up when I wear those. So shout out to Modist. We have a stockpile of some gear and fun stuff to give away at Summer League stuff as we continue the summer. All right. So now I want to dig in a little to more of your past. There were some fun little hints I dropped because both of you have had some fun achievements in soccer already. Aida, you are an honorary Midwesterner now, most certainly. You've spent enough time up here, so credit. You know, you're a local. We consider you a local, but always, like, you weren't always. You grew up in Kassel, Germany, and playing for FC Nuremberg to start, from what I read in bios, right? So talk about when you first got started and the first team you played for.
Boy, my very, very first team was, I started playing at the age of 3, and only because I was so jealous of my brother.
Sure.
And I started playing with boys only until I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I hit 14, I got my first like pro offer. I went to boarding school in Berlin,
Mm-hmm.
and we won the German national championship back to back in those 2 years that I was there, which was really fun. And then I did go to, my family moved because of my brother, because he started playing for a professional club as well.
Who did he play for, Aida?
SF to Nürnberg, so he did play for them as well.
Cool.
So we moved there, so I started playing for the same club, and up until I, finished high school, and then I knew I wanted to go to the US. That's sort of my route.
Did you? I saw it said you were the first 15-year-old to play for a Bundesliga team.
Yeah.
And was that is it FC Turbine Potsdam?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just skipped over all that. Talk about getting to play in the Bundesliga. And I mean, that wasn't that, well, I mean, it's not that long ago. It wasn't like it was a farmer league. You were playing in the Bundesliga. Talk about that, getting your debut. What that
Well,
felt like.
it was really weird because I've never played with women before, and they tend to be rough sometimes. If they don't like something you do, they will tell you. And I was practicing with the first team, and then we were playing with the under 17.
Yeah.
So they were trying to get me in a spot where, I was 15, I was very skinny. I mean, I still very much am, but, I had no muscle or, even the stamina to go 90 minutes playing in a professional team that way. So I was always practicing with the first team, and, you have to toughen up because they be saying stuff that you're like, gets to your head sometimes, but I had the support of the coaches, and I was just able to do my thing. And, the longer time went on, essentially you built that quality, and we did a lot of extra running after practices or stuff like that. Like, I had my own very special schedule sometimes.
Yeah. And
once we hit that where we say like, yeah, you can do it finally, that's when I sort of got my minutes, and that was obviously very special. Going from being ball girl every single game to getting to play match, that was just cool. So.
How cool. Wow. Yeah. Well, we got the Euros on at the Blackheart all summer too, if you want to, but I don't know this is, which leads me to my other point though, because you grew up in Germany, but Serbian background, played for the under 17 Serbian national team, right? So what an amazing experience that is. And it was for Euro qualifying, correct? Or did you play in the under 18 or under 17 Euros too?
We did. We played in Belarus. Yeah, we did make it in the end. Yeah, we had to play, I think in the qualifiers, we had to beat England.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, and I think we beat them, I don't know, 3-2 maybe. And so we
Shout out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Take the L, England. I'll gladly root for Serbia over England. Are there any players from that team that are like on Lyon now or Manchester City we need to know about or something from your team?
No, but there is someone. I remember when I made my senior national team debut, I was playing the six with another girl, and I remembered like being like, "Whoa, she's so good." And she plays for Chelsea right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So she's really good.
she
Shout out
probably is
to
good. She
what?
probably is good. Although,
Yeah,
yeah,
she's really good.
shout out to her individually. Shout out to Chelsea not winning the title again. That's boring.
Literally.
Can't be 4 years. It can't be 5. You know, it's like City in the men's. It's boring, guys. Come
Yeah.
on. It's like Munich finally went down. Bayern, sorry, it was time. I'm glad
Yeah.
someone needed to win the male Bundesliga.
I
Um,
agree.
Emma, you grew up a lot closer to me than Ada did in Asante. It's like semi-rural, you know, the rural status, suburb status. But I say that because your soccer record speaks to the story of like a rural athlete where you were on varsity for 6 years. So do you remember talk about making varsity as a 7th grader? Because it's kind of like what Ada did. Like you had to be a little kid hanging out with 18-year-olds. So what was that like?
Yeah, first I'm just gonna apologize. My computer is kind of making like a weird noise, so if you hear that,
It's not too
sorry.
bad.
But
It's pretty light, to be honest. But yeah, it's not too bad.
yeah, so I mean, I don't even know what to even think about that because
Yeah.
one of my like mom's friends like told me that I should go like try out for the high school team because like, the middle school team, I don't know, like it just wasn't as good because it was just a small town.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, like fine. Like I was just expecting maybe to make JV or JV2, but I just like showed up and I was like on the roster. So I was like, oh, okay. So it was kind of fun to see that.
Talk about the age difference because it's something like we talk about in the pro game. It's like a really actually improving and like more intentional thing of how they integrate teenagers into locker rooms because things like the tragic thing, like when Freddie Adu, you know, when he was a kid, it was just nothing. He was just a child with 30-year-old men, you know, and so they're better at integrating. That's not as big of an age gap. But I was a 7th grader once, and I know if I would have been in the locker room with like 12th grade boys, it would have been a big dynamic. I'm just like, what was the dynamic like for you, or was it a group that didn't have that type of dynamic? I'm curious.
Gosh, if I can remember, like, I know I definitely like had a friend, maybe like she was a junior, I think, and like, I talked to her a lot. She was so nice, and then, yeah, actually, all the seniors were like super nice to me, and I remember that, and it was just like it would definitely like was kind of weird because I was so young, and they just felt so old to me. It was just like
Yeah.
I just like hanging around a bunch of old teachers, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they'd
It
be
was
talking
fun.
about like, you know, like dating or I don't know, whatever teenagers talk about, you know, and so yeah. Yeah. What about
Yeah.
when did you first get to play? Did you play 7th grade at all, or was it more that was the learning curve, and when did you actually start to see the field for them?
Well, I played JV and varsity, so I would like
Yeah.
play first half of JV and then I'd go over to play like or just like sit bench for varsity. But I did get a couple of games in, not full games, but just like minutes and like here and there.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, that's very cool. But yeah, you were really, I mean, you were successful. You had a lot of, you had some all state, you had all conference, of course, a bunch. So your team was successful, obviously. It's not, I joke like it's close to the metro, but it's not within where you'd think of like the big suburban schools who kind of dominate things. So I'm sure it was cool for you like to make it to state the time you made it, right? But what are your favorite memories from playing for St. Francis?
Yeah, so I actually started playing for St. Francis in my freshman year of high school. I
Oh,
had been at a different high school before,
Cambridge
but
Asante? Yeah,
yeah,
Cambridge Asante, yeah. Cool.
yeah. So definitely that was a great memory because that was my junior year and we like it was full team of just junior and seniors, but we all like literally played together for clubs. So we had such great like team chemistry already and dude, we just made it and I think that was just like my favorite year just because good team vibes and just going as far as we can was really awesome.
Yeah, nice. Well, and hopefully more to come at South Dakota State. I'm sure you'll get that chance. Always in the hunt for some sort of postseason. And yeah, well, yeah. So, and I'll ask you about this now, just since it brought up. You were playing behind Jocelyn Tanner this last year. She's been a really standout keeper for them. The year before, she split time exactly with Haley Fisher, and that was always so interesting. And they would play each half, so Jocelyn finally got a longer run of games. But you were in for a handful of those this fall, and I wonder for you, like, how did you first get recruited to South Dakota State? Did you see these keepers that were already there and think, well, okay, they're going to graduate and maybe that would be a spot for me?
Okay, I'm just gonna be so honest. I did not know South Dakota had a soccer team. Like, I had no idea what was going on in South Dakota. But
you weren't following Equal Time at the time. You weren't following Equal Time. Then you would, yeah, it's all over.
No, but well, I have a teammate who I play with now at SDSU. Her name is KB, and we played on the same club team as well. And I don't know if they were there, like, played for the MN Eclipse GA team that used to be like a team, like a club. And I think Brock was their head coach. And then that same night, I just got like contacted by like SDSU, and then I just went for a visit and stuff, and committed after a while. So yeah.
I like the honesty though, Emma, because people will be like, it's fair enough. Everyone has their recruiting stories, and yeah, South Dakota has like 5 D1 schools. It's probably more than you'd think. It doesn't. Yeah. Nebraska has a lot too. How did, so Aida, when you were playing, obviously you were getting the opportunities to play like high level football at the time. What was it that made you come to Creighton? Was it always the plan, just college and then picking what the college would be?
Honestly, I was so obsessed as a teenager with like the English language and like American culture, and I'd never been before.
Like movies and TV?
Yeah.
Which ones? I felt this cut. Which ones were the ones that made you think America, or you wanted to be in that America?
Like She's the Man.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Like any Rachel McAdams movie ever, maybe.
Hey, the rest of us, sure.
Yeah. So after I finished high school, I was like, and we have this huge tournament in Germany where the best players of each state, built a state team, and then they played against each other.
Cool.
And I remember at one of those games, after the game, this guy approached me and he's like, "Oh, like, would you ever consider going to?" I was like, "No, hello, don't speak to me." I was like, "Who are you?" Yeah. I was really confused. I didn't even know that was a thing. Honestly, I never really thought about like soccer in the U.S. And then,
so not even in terms of like, you knew the NWSL is a thing, but not for you as a path or like anything other than that? Or did you not even know NWSL?
No, not even that. Like,
oh my gosh. Wow.
To me. So, and then at that time, like when I was like, I don't know, 14, I had Facebook. I don't have that anymore. But I remember a couple of agencies reaching out to me and being like, "Oh, we're with this." Yeah. Like, no. And then essentially I got like emailed from a couple of schools, and I went to this showcase, and that's when I got in touch with like a lot of Big East schools. And
yeah,
then I just made my choice from talking with Coach Ross, and it was just hilarious. And
it was just on the personal thing with the coach.
Yeah. It was just, I just felt like a good fit.
Did you Google where it is?
Yes, and it sounded so much like Alaska. I was like, where are you going?
Oh, it's a lot different. Maybe the most opposite, except for like,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, but why is the name so familiar?
You thought so? The first picture you had is it's going to be maybe mountainy and like outdoor.
Literally, yes. I was surprised when I came into school. I was like, where did
it is much love to Nebraska, and I will say, being from Minnesota, we make a lot of jokes about the Dakotas and Iowa and Nebraska. Much of it looks a lot the same. We do have more woods and like up in the Northeast and everything, and there's beautiful parts of Nebraska, but it is maybe the most monolithic state in the whole country. Like, it's flat, you could see across it. That's really funny. If you said states of Germany to people, I took German in high school, and I watched soccer, so I'd know, but like people would have no idea what it means. They wouldn't. By the way, what was your state in that competition, so we can big up your state?
Bavaria.
You're the big one. Oh, you're probably like the villains then.
We won every time.
Well, you should.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you were on the big dogs. Okay, I didn't know where Dassel was within, or where the
No,
specific city you were at the time.
See, Castle is in Hessen,
Yeah,
but at the time where you actually start playing that tournament, it's at the age of 14, and by that time we already had moved. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
14, yeah.
What other? So you went just on the coach? You said mostly it was other Big East schools. Do you remember who you would have picked if it wasn't Creighton?
Ooh, so this is a funny story. Like I tell people all the time, I was also looking at going to Brown, but
Yeah.
I was like, these people are too rich for me. I was like, I would not have any connections. Like I feel like I would not make any friends. And I was like, no. So
I mean,
but I like their grass field, so I was like, oh maybe. But
they are. I mean, Creighton is the Brown of Nebraska. So
this is what I'm saying.
You did go to kind of the Ivy of it's most certainly is the Ivy of Nebraska. Yeah, it's a good school. But yeah, Emma, for you getting recruited to South Dakota State, what were the other ones you were thinking about? Do you remember what was closest or what other visits you took?
Yeah, so I actually did take a visit to Nebraska, like UNL, North Dakota State University, and St. Thomas.
Yeah, right on. What was it specifically about South Dakota State that made you feel like it was the match?
Yeah, I mean, everyone says this, but it's just the culture of the team is just awesome, and you know, I think it's just like a good team. They have good seasons. I love the coaches a lot, and coming from a small town like Isani, like Brookings is, I always say Brookings is just like my hometown, but just with a college in it. Like, it's nice.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's a close enough school. Like Nebraska's even further, but it's close, and they have a good history of actually like some Minnesotans playing pro. Like Annie Williams has been playing pro now as an alum of South Dakota State for a while. I'm sure some Maya Hansen, who also plays in the W League for Aurora, I'm sure she has her hopes to be looking that way too. So you can see the path. I'm sure you can. Oh, and also, by the way, I just remembered this. Jocelyn Tanner is kicking for the Minnesota women's football team, like the tackle football team. So we got to get out there and check that out because I saw that as a random detail. But yeah, Ada, in terms of playing in college, like you said, I mean, if you're watching like movies and wanting American culture, going to college is about as good of a way to get like, I think that's a pretty concentrated thing of like our college culture. But I mean, so you got to experience it. You obviously were a winning team, but what are your favorite memories from being at Creighton? Maybe aside from soccer, and then I want to ask about soccer too.
I always say those were the best 4 years of my life, and I actually mean it. When I hear, and this is sort of like I'm biased because I just had such a good college time, and obviously I got my degree as well, like best of both worlds. But I always tell people who want to go pro at the age of 18, I'm like, no, go to college. Do that, get that experience in. But to each their own. But definitely, like, I've made friends for life. I like visit them all the time. They're all American, so it's always a pretty far flight. But I've made people who I know like they'll be by my side for the rest of my life. And we've also gone to Argentina for preseason once, in 2019, which is a unforgettable experience. We practice on Argentina's international team, like playing grounds. So that was ridiculous. It was an awesome time. And there's so many I could not pick one of them. Like even the most dull memories are still memories that you like yearn for years back.
It seems like players usually say they just miss being around, being in the locker room and having that camaraderie. And, that's the biggest thing. And of course, people do, if you guys are still playing, so you don't have to miss that part of it, but people do miss that too if they don't get the actual itch. You played with a great Minnesotan player that we highlighted on Equal Time, Ansley Atkinson. And she at one point, I remember, I think she got hurt. I don't know if it was her junior year. She got hurt while she was leading the country in assists. That sucked. I had just interviewed her, so Ansley, don't put it on me. We usually like to get the goal bump. We don't want to get an injury bump from Equal Time. But what do you remember about her? And because I mean, you probably were playing with it. She was in the midfield and in the mix, right?
She's my best friend. Before I got to Rochester, I spent some time with her before she went to California.
This is why I do. This is the research, you guys. That deep digging research. But yeah, I love that.
No, we were roommates my like entire like upperclassman career, and we always, no matter what happened, we're rooming together. Like we just clicked on every part. Like
Uh-huh.
personality wise, and also on the field, we had really good chemistry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I said like she had a lot of assists. Talk about her as a player, because when you said, well, I like to play, I like to combine, I like to play in possession,
Yeah.
less so of the directness. I in my head, I'm like, well, she probably was a pretty good match with you.
Exactly. We had this, and I always told her, I was like, no matter if I like if my back is turned to you, I know exactly where you are. It's just like we had this like invisible link that like we knew where each one was on the field at all times, and she's a great player. Like that injury really, you wonder sometimes what if, if it didn't happen, because we really needed her, and she was just honestly leading the country in assists.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And it was a shitty season for us that year. We had so many ACLs.
It went down. Yeah. Went down after that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it went downhill. So,
yeah.
But, you always hope for Ansley that like she's literally my bestest friend in the whole world. So maybe she's going to pick it up at some point again, because she also had a stupid injury right now,
Yeah. Well, the more teams, yeah. And I forgot, I mean, WPSL, Canada, there's a bunch. So yeah, we hope. It's cool that people can have the dreams, and also like the W League is a really good, it's been really good for players to have that intermediate step. Like it's been very successful. Like I said, of Ana Ricardo from your team going to play in the Spanish second division. There's like a handful of Aurora players. So people watch it, and also because it's produced really well, like even like the stream you watch of Rochester FC, it looks good. And that people, it cannot like go understated how much that makes it look professional. If it's just, if you don't have the digital stuff, if it doesn't look right, it doesn't look like you're playing even at the level you are. So that's been, I think, really good for players to get exposure, and we should see plenty of W League players up in the Super League this fall, I'm sure. Talk about Coach Deb Nichols. I confess I have to go back and follow up and get an interview with Coach Nichols, because it's exciting. We don't have enough women head coaches on all of our teams, but she has a background as a keeper. So Emma, I was wondering for you, like, I don't know if you've had head coaches who've been keepers before. Is it different? Is it nicer? Do you get more, or is she micromanaging more or helping more because she actually has her thoughts on it?
Yeah, Deb is a fun coach to have, definitely, especially since she's a goalkeeper. I think like obviously some of the drills are nice because she gets like what it's like to be a goalkeeper in these types of drills and stuff. So and she'll give me like some little pointers at some point, which are pretty helpful. So.
How many women coaches have you had in the past, Emma?
I think just one. That was when I was at St. Francis. It was my friend's mom, and she was awesome.
Does it matter? I mean, like, it's we spotlight it because it's still maybe too few people getting opportunities. But for you as the player, is there something inherently valuable to that, having a woman coach?
I think. Oh, I also have a coach at South Dakota that's a woman, but I think just having that like female presence, like, it just makes the whole vibe like chiller, and they just like they understand, like if you feel off one day, they understand like why, like yeah, they just understand like you as a person and how you play the game. So
yeah, they've been in your position before. Aida, like I said, just liking to highlight when there are women coaching in the game. How has your experience been with your coaches? Have you had women coaching you before? Have you seen value in that?
I probably had I had 2 women coaches when I played for like our state soccer team.
Okay.
And that's probably where I learned the most about soccer. I will like these, and they're all affiliated with the German national team federation. There were coaches there as well, so they were really, really good. And obviously, like Emma said, there's women get women on a different level than you perhaps have with a men's coach. So that's just sort of what made it a little more special, and a little more, I guess you could say, intimate, because you understood each other. So definitely learned so many things about the sport of soccer that helped me even today, that I'd never forget. And you never forget how someone on a personal note just gets to know you and helps you on a deeper level. So I will never forget the both of them, and they're so amazing, and I wish them the best, obviously. And Yeah. And all of my coaches have been, I mean, for example, Coach Ross is the only coach where I could say he's one who had a more, that's going to sound rough, human side to him, because all the other ones were really,
That's fair.
really tough, really tough. They would make you cry. They would like, yeah. But Coach Ross, shout out to him. He definitely was like, it was a nice switch up to what I had experienced in the past.
I think it's fair to say we consume a lot of coach behavior from the sideline, and so even we're only getting that part. We aren't seeing training, but the energy is what it is. And I will say too, just I mean, in terms of the question, because it's not like a coach who's a woman is inherently a better coach than a man. The additive is like you guys said, it's the perspective, and of course they could be better than the man, obviously. So, but if you're in a room as a team of coaches making a decision, you know, like any experience I've had doing any work together with people, it's like I appreciate input of different perspectives, you know, like it helps the overall group if you have different mindsets and perspectives. So very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully diving in deeper with Coach Nichols. I'm going to get into some more random quicker questions for you guys. I want to ask, I'm really curious for Ada, with all the background of teams you've had, who's your favorite soccer team?
See, I don't have a favorite soccer team because I have a favorite soccer player, and whatever team he's on, like in the past, because he's old now. So
Say it. Who is it?
One of my favorite, like I have 3 favorite players in like history. So it would be Thierry Henry, and a goalie, Jens Lehmann, and then CR7. CR7 is my absolute.
Okay. So are you watching the Saudi League then?
No, not really. I watch the highlights, and he's been scoring every single game, so you know it's just good. I'm just like, okay, I'll just watch the highlights.
Who does Lehmann play for?
He doesn't play anymore. He's old. He's
okay.
But he played during the like invincible times of Arsenal.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Him and Henry. Yeah. Well, that'll get you in love with the game. Emma, what's your favorite soccer team?
I don't think I like a solid favorite, but I do really like watching the NWSL, and I think like my favorite team to watch would be like San Diego Wave.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, I grew up in a time where there weren't any teams to like root for in Minnesota, so it's always been like the U.S. men's team and then the U.S. women's team are like the top for me. Now it's an embarrassment of riches with all these local squads. What's your move? You have these long away trips. It's gotten a little shorter, but you have the trips to Milwaukee, you have the trips to Chicago. What's your move on the bus or in the van? Is it, do you sleep? Do you stream stuff? You just like scrolling TikTok for 3 hours? Emma, why don't you go first?
I'll either just like talk for a long time with my teammates, or I'll just sit with my headphones on, listen to some music, and watch the scenery outside.
All right. So Ada, how about you? How do you deal with the trips? And then, I mean, when you were at Creighton, by the way, you had some longer ones too. I mean, flights too, but I bet some long bus rides once in a while.
Yeah. Well, we were sitting on like the same row on our trip to Chicago, so we were talking for a long time. But then again, I'm also someone who loves to listen to music, and since I don't have any social media, I just bop my head, and people behind me are like, "She's having an aneurysm. What's going on?" But yeah, that's just how it goes, honestly. It's just either talking, listening to music, or sleep, and that's just there's no in between. And at Creighton, the same thing. I would just have my headphones in, hoping no one would talk to me. And I'm kidding. I love when people talk to me.
Well, no, everyone uses that trick, Ada. That's no fault in it. That's a white lie that has there's no hurt, no victim in that white lie. It just means a signal I want to be private, you know?
That's and I hate flying, and obviously when I played for Creighton, we flew so much, and I just the most boring. I would rather sit on a bus and feel the movement of, physically. Flying was terrible. I hated it.
I'm the same. You must have had a lot with the East Coast trips. Like you'd be up to New York and Connecticut or whatever, and oof, for sure. Okay, so people, I don't know if I've seen Rochester FC do this, but follow them on Insta and TikTok, by the way. They're making content and it's fun. It helps you. It's so much easier to attach to a team when you like get some personality and see the players. That's why we try to at least give some of that for people. But one of the things, like the NWSL is huge with this, WNBA, is like the pregame fits rolling up to a game. And I don't know if you guys are set up to do that, but say the team actually was like, no, we have a nice camera. We want to make it'll be a good reel. Obviously, Ada probably is a different thought in terms of the social media, but the pregame fit could still be just for you. Are you a fan of like getting into a fit, or do you want to just like roll up in sweats? when you're going to the game?
No, I love dressing nice. Like not nice, but like I like, like I don't
Yeah.
know. I like
Stylish, like putting together a look. Yeah.
yeah, that's I love a good sneaker, I'm a huge sneakerhead.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and Ada's more evolved than us because guess what? She doesn't need it posted. She just wants to look. She doesn't even need it for social. So she's risen above. I'm gonna take some inspiration from that, Ada. Although I don't post any pictures on Instagram. But Emma, how about you? When you see how about you? Or when you're seeing NWSL, I'm sure I think everyone's a fan of it. I've never heard someone say I don't want to see the players pregame fit. But for you personally, do you take inspiration?
I would actually love it if we could like show up like dressing all nice and stuff, because I do like those pictures. Those are pretty fun, and like the outfits are like so crazy and I love them. But I'm just good with showing up in like sports stuff, I guess.
Sounds like the idea has been made, so I have no doubt someone from the team is watching. So it sounds like the players are down. Let's set one up, and it'll mark the first edition of Ada on Instagram on the fit. Talk about, you're out of college now, Ada, so I can ask you this. We always like to ask players things, but like they're really professional and diplomatic now. You're out of college, so you can say this. Who was the most overrated or overhyped team for you when you were in college? Or it can be a player that you always matched up against.
Yeah. No, player I would never. What? No, that's rude.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're playing against someone who's like now making money in the NWSL. You can drag them a little bit.
You can say whatever you want, but Georgetown was the most overrated team on this entire planet. And this is what annoys me, losing to them 1-0 every single Big East semifinal when I'm telling you, that's something I will die on. Now you got me all riled up. No, I will never live that down.
This is what I wanted. This is one of the only things I do well on here is I talk about the rivalries. Emma, I mean, I don't know if you've had enough time to build up the heat in the Summit League like Ada does for Georgetown. Georgetown, get out of here. We don't have any Minnesotans on the Hoyas. I could care less. We ride with Creighton in the Big East. Emma, for you in the Summit League, who do you most want to beat? Because you weren't aware of some of these teams before you started playing there, so it'd be quick heat that came about with these opponents.
I think like we always kind of think of Denver as like the one that we want to beat just because they're so
they're great.
Like they are really good. But I think someone that kind of like makes us get riled up, maybe Omaha, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's going to become fun with St. Thomas probably, right? Because you have so many players like you have crossed paths with who are playing at St. Thomas is all Minnesotans. There must be tons of girls you played against and have memories of, I don't know, losing a section final or something. Yeah.
Wait, can I say something?
Yeah. What's up? Yeah.
We just got a text saying next home game, show up in your drip fit to the game.
Hey, Rochester moves quick.
Yeah.
Wow. This is live, guys. This is not taped. This is live. I love it. Okay. So you said Denver, but yeah, Emma, was there any local animosity with St. Did you have like players you'd played with or against on St. Thomas?
Yeah, obviously like Lissa, she played for us last summer. Knew her.
Yeah.
Definitely some players on there that I played like club ball with. Mm-hmm. So just seeing them was kind of like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's the Summit League's full of Minnesotan connection, so it's always good for us because there's always like some little angle. And also, I mean, Creighton is always actually matched up with. We usually have some connection too. Ada, you spent so much time in the Midwest. I mean, we are the most German place outside of Germany, I guess. But what about German food do you miss most when you're in the U.S.? And I have a follow-up too.
Oh God! See, since my parents are from Serbia, we only eat Serbian food.
It's probably better. It's probably better. I don't really like German food that much, to be honest.
I don't really like the German cuisine.
They make good meat. They make good bread, and like I like cabbage and stuff. But I mean, I'm speaking as an ignorant American, but I'm just saying, liking Serbian food more, I think, is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, but I do like American food too. My guilty pleasure is Cane's.
So that, I mean, look, and she's all that. No, I mean, sorry, she's the man. I'm older than you. Yeah. By the way, when I was a kid, the movie was Ladybugs and much more problematic version of She's the Man. Ladybug is canceled for people who Google Ladybugs. At the time, it was a kid's movie. But well, so then it's even harder to get Serbian food. German food you could find. We actually have a really good German place in St. Paul. Like you can't find. Can you find Serbian food in Omaha?
Well, no, but my host family is from Bosnia,
Oh
and
wow!
so they like I'm eating whatever I eat at home usually, so I'm in good hands over here.
Wow.
Yeah,
You guys are having like a little piecemeal together, getting this.
yeah.
It's wow, Serbian Bosnia. I love that. That is amazing. Did they know that? Did they find? Was it intentional that they found about? Like they knew you'd like that?
Well, they know that where I'm from, it's very
Yeah.
close to like, where like
Yeah. Yeah.
we're concentrated. So
Yeah.
maybe it was a coincidence, but even if it was, it's a very beautiful one, I think.
Oh
'Cause,
my gosh, I want to eat a bunch of Bosnian food. Come on.
yeah.
Yeah. I love it. What's the best? Well, then, like, have you ever had? You've never gotten in a restaurant, then, have you? Like Serbian food? Did you ever find like a Serbian restaurant in New York when you were at an away game?
No, but I like because whenever I talk to people, I say I'm from Germany, so they obviously assume that I'm German, which I
Yeah,
am. But yeah, I got a bunch of recommendations in Omaha to not German food, but like German beer, but I don't drink.
yeah,
Well, it's just like I'm like yes, but also no.
yeah. Thank you. Appreciate the yeah. I like the effort. Emma, I mean, you joked. I mean, or not joked. You said, and I thought it was funny that you didn't know South Dakota State. Like you didn't know about the team before you went there, so you certainly didn't have any preconceived notions of what Brookings would offer. So I do wonder because like what were your first reactions and kind of like what are your favorite things about just like the town being there?
I think like my first reaction when I got to Brookings was like, there's just so many windmills and like grape
Yeah,
fields.
yeah,
So, but like as I got into the town more, like you could tell like it was just a small college town, and like everyone's kind of like a Jackrabbit fan there,
yeah, for sure.
and everything on the campus is like it's a big campus, but like
Mhm.
the farthest walk you'll have to do is maybe like a 15-minute walk.
Yeah,
And as like all the freshmen, we used to walk all the way from our dorms, which is on one side of the campus, all the way to the S-Jack some days. So that was fun.
yeah, but yeah, it's a nice place to visit. I haven't been there in a long time, but it'd be fun to get out to one of those games. I appreciate so much you guys joining us. Some really fun stories. We need some follow-ups on even some of them, but yeah, we'll continue paying attention. Like I said before, Rochester FC has their game June 1st with Dutch Lions. Stream it at 7 o'clock. They have a really nice stream, easy to watch the game. They play at the RCTC Stadium in Rochester. Stay tuned. Also, like I said, June 6th, Aurora and Rochester. That'll be a really fun game at TCO Stadium. Follow the squad, and thank you for all your support. If you saw this last weekend, you saw my brother Matt go to Chicago to get highlights. He flew back, watched the W League game to make sure we had goal highlights from the Rochester FC game. So this is a real part-time job for us, leaning to full-time for Matt at moments, I think. So thank you to everyone who becomes a Patreon. We've got some parents who jumped on board, and just go to YouTube for all the archive of our Summer League coverage. Thank you, guys.